Okay, so again, what we are getting paid so much for is to practice, you know, these contracts. We're held to the standard of an attorney with these contracts, and we're keeping our sellers, you know, not only trying to net them the most amount of money, but we're also trying to keep our sellers from getting sued. We're trying to keep our buyers from losing their earnest money. And it all has to do with following the contract. So your job as a real estate agent not only is to prospect, find new clients, but also, you know, one of your jobs is to know and follow your contracts, so you're keeping your clients protected. Okay, so today we're going to go over, you know, where to find the contract information and things like that. Again, this is kind of a beginner course, so if you are skilled, highly skilled at writing contracts, I would love for your input and pipe in whenever you have some input. But for now, I want to just start by sharing my screen and showing you guys within EXP, where can you find the contract training. So if you guys go to expcloud.com, over here where it says training, you're going to find all of, hang on. Do this a different way here. As you can see, I love my bookmarks here. So events calendar, expcloud.com/calendar. And this is going to show you all the trainings that EXP has. I mean, there is a ton here. But if you look on this right-hand side, you're going to see Monday, AZ state meeting, Oregon, California, new agent orientation. Okay. And then you're going to look for whatever state you're in and find their contracts class. Here's the Michigan contracts class. Okay. Here's Alaska state meeting. They call in Washington state, our contracts classes at 10 a.m. and they call it the Washington Real Estate Workshop, where we go over our contracts. Here you can see Nevada's contracts trainings at 9:30. And in order to access the contracts class, you first have to log into your
You didn't put com, it's OM.
Have any of you never signed into EXP World? Is this new to some of you? So everybody here is signed into EXP World?
I have not.
Okay. So once you get logged into EXP World, I think it's super slow because I got so many people on this Zoom. But this is pretty much the only time I ever need to hop in here. It's a great way to get easy, quick answers to things. But in order to go to our state meeting, and anybody's state meeting for that matter, you're going to go click on this go to button, scroll down to broker staterooms, okay? And click on your broker stateroom. I'm going to click on Washington. And ours is held in this Washington auditorium now. Okay, so you click on state sales meetings, click on the door. And then this is where our meetings will be. And then you just go click on a seat, sit down, and you can click on a screen here. And essentially, this is where our contracts classes and our team meetings are held. So I'd highly recommend that you guys If you're new and you're not an expert, even if you are experienced, honestly, because we're revising the contracts all the time, I'd highly recommend that you go to these trainings. And another resource, so that's for everybody, right? EXP, find when your state is doing their contracts classes, and make sure that you guys are attending those. I think it's super valuable. It's one of the things that separates the amateurs from the professionals, is knowing your contracts. So another resource that I like, and this is for us in Washington State, is subscribing to the Washington Realtors, okay? So if you subscribe to this, you'll get a Friday update every Friday. And I feel like it's super valuable, and you can even, you can search within here, right? If you want to search like some form names, 22A, you can watch a lot of resources here. Buyer changing loan types, I mean, there's a ton of stuff here. You can see just in the one form how many resources there are. So I would write this down, Washington Realtors, subscribe to it every Friday. Annie Fitzsimmons, she's an attorney that helps write some of these contracts. But keep in mind, though, that Annie Fitzsimmons isn't the be all end all, right? If you have a seller and you have a buyer who are in a disagreement, at the end of the day, it's going to be the judge that determines who's going to win. Okay. So, Annie's great. I take everything that she says very seriously, but keep in mind that, she is an attorney. She's not out here practicing real estate. So some of the things that she says might not ever get your offer accepted, might kill a deal. But it's valuable to know all those resources. The other thing that you have, and I'm sure this is most of you, because we have to be a realtor to be a part of EXP, which is every brokerage I've been at so far has made me be a realtor. But for us, the Washington Realtors Association, washingtonrealtor.org, this is another super valuable resource for getting your questions answered. And once you log in, then you can click on this members only section, and you can, this is the legal hotline where you can ask a bunch of questions. So this is another great resource for you. Any questions so far about any of this? Okay. So moving on, I think one of the things, so what are you guys most struggling with right now in your real estate business as it relates to contracts? Is it just getting your offers accepted? Is it not knowing how to write an offer? Where are you guys struggling right now? I mean, your microphones, let me hear kind of what it is you're dealing with. Colby, have you ever written a contract?
I have not. The furthest I've really got with the buyer is just getting them into an agreement, and then that fell through too. So I haven't really been far with buyers.
Okay. Julian, have you written a contract?
Sorry, give me one sec. Yeah, I've written, I'd say probably like 2 to 3. I get like the general idea of how to do it. I guess there's just like I wouldn't know what to look for, I guess is a better way to put it.
Okay.
Or what things would like stand out, because I know how to like input everything. It's basically just copy and paste for the most part.
Okay.
But if there's specific things I need to look for, I'm not well aware of like the certain scenarios or situations where I need to like be paying like way more attention, I guess.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to spend a little bit of time kind of going over writing an offer. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. But I chose one here. And again, this is going to be Washington State. If you're in a different state, hopefully you have a similar MLS. But I chose this property here in Snohomish. because of a couple of reasons. So one of the first things that I look for if this is an offer that I'm going to write is I click on this here. This is a link to the supplements. Okay. And you can see this property has a lot of supplements because it's on septic. And well, that's just one of the reasons. Okay. And this agent went ahead and they uploaded a lot of information for us, which is great. They uploaded the preliminary title commitment, which is a Carfax of the property, if you will. It has all the recorded documents against the property. So this would be something that you would probably want to email over to your client right away so that you can go over this with them, okay? And if you have never gone over a title report, essentially like some of these hyperlinks here in blue, these exceptions here is kind of what's going to be relevant. It's going to show where the easements are. It's going to show there's a road maintenance agreement. Okay, so this is something here that's important. So this road maintenance agreement, any property, any private road that has 3 or more homes on it, and it's recently changed, is I think you used to be able to get away with 3, but if you had 4, you would need a road maintenance agreement. So this is something that you need to share with your client, right? It's like you wouldn't even know this unless you looked at the title report, but there's a road maintenance agreement here. Okay. Here's a couple other hyperlinks, but send this to your client so that you don't, and go over with them so you don't have to include a title contingency in your offer, right? Because that's why they uploaded it. They uploaded it so you didn't have to do that. So, there's a FERPTA, which says whether or not they're a citizen. Here's a utility addendum, which just tells escrow to pay the utilities when it closes. There's the legal description. One of the things that a lot of people mess up is that a legal description has to be a part of the contract. And a lot of people miss that. So if you miss this legal description as part of the contract, it's a voidable contract. Okay. The seller disclosure is an RCW, not in all states, believe it or not, but in Washington state, you have to provide this as a seller to any potential buyer. For sale by owners, seller disclosure. This is one of the biggest reasons why people that go for sale by owner get sued, is because they do not provide the seller disclosure. Something ends up happening and they get sued, right? So pretty important. So that's the first thing that I do, is I look at the supplements and see what's been uploaded, see if there's anything that I could share with my client that we could go ahead and take out of the offer because we already have it. For instance, they also uploaded the septic inspection, right? Now, your lender will most likely be, if it's getting financing, they're going to need to see a septic inspection to make sure that the septic works properly, right? But you have a title, you have the septic inspection, so theoretically, you could waive the septic inspection as well because they've already provided it. So these are a couple of things that are going to make your offer stand out more than the other who didn't look at the supplements and just started adding what they're used to doing, okay? A couple of things also that you want to take a look at is, although the down here where the utilities are, you can see this is on septic, but it's also on an individual well. Okay, so those of you who aren't aware, is your lender, if it's on a well, is also going to need to get a well water test, the bare minimum that there's not going to be any bacteria, E. coli in the water. Okay, that's going to be a requirement of the lender. So unless you're paying cash, you're going to need to include that. And now in Washington's MLS, one of the nice features is this little button here. If you click on this, I don't know how you're writing your contracts now, but if you just simply click on this, it will then take you into transaction desk, which is what we use to prep our offers. Okay. And the great thing about this is it will auto-populate the listing agent, the seller's contact info, all that stuff right into the offer itself. So once this thing gets warmed up here, you can see what I'm talking about. Any questions so far? Cool, you got any comments?
No, I think you're doing great.
Okay, so now we're in transaction desk. It's running really slow, probably because I got so many things open and everybody on Zoom. But one of the things that you guys might not be aware of is because of our Washington State EXP, because we're a part of the EXP, and I'm sure this is in pretty much all the states, right here, they actually create a bunch of EXP templates for you, okay? You can create your own template, but here's one for land, here's one for a condo, here's one for residential. So if I click on this residential EXP, one of the great things about that is it actually includes our disclosures that we need, that are those annoying things. If you forget, then they always ask for them. So if you click on this, it will upload those. Me personally, I don't really like the templates because there's a lot of things, as you can see, that are, as you will see, are unnecessary. But let's just move forward from here. So we have this transaction that we're going to write an offer on. I hit next. Okay, the purchase and sale agreement is today. Offer expires tomorrow. Hit next. Now here's where you can see I auto populated myself. Okay, so I chose the wrong.
You're doing a listing.
I chose the wrong template. Yeah, exactly. So it added me as the listing broker because I chose a listing template. So if I can delete that, we're not the listing firm, right? So I can delete that as well. Now, rather than go back and add EXP manually, because I could add myself as the selling broker rather than the listing broker, but then I'd have to add EXP and go back and do that. So what I think I'll do is just what I would do is start over and then just select a proper template. Right now, actually, I'm going to just add myself for sake of this example. It's not going to have EXP's contact info, which is important, but because it's taken so long, I'm going to go ahead and move forward. So right here, you could actually add your buyer's contact information. Whether or not you want to add it here or not is up to you. If you do add it here, their email address will be on the contract. So escrow won't necessarily ask you for their contact information because they'll have it because it'll be a part of the contract. But as you can see, it's added a bunch of listing documents like the residential listing input sheet, the exclusive sale agreement, all that stuff. But I'm writing an offer, so I'm just going to go ahead and start adding those documents to it. So to add documents, you click on this little plus button, okay? And I'm going to click on all statewide forms. Now it defaults. One of the great things about doing it this way is it's going to default to the right form that you're supposed to use. If this was a manufactured home or if this was a condo, then it would, instead of form 21, if it was a condo, it would be form 28 for the condo, okay? So the beautiful thing about doing it this way is it kind of tells you which form you should be using as far as the purchase and sale agreement. So form 21 for this, I usually include a form 22D, which is an optional clause. Okay. If you're paying for cash, if you're paying cash, then you want to include evidence of funds. Or if you're selling stock or something where if the cash is not readily available in their bank, you should be disclosing where that money's coming from technically. So if they're selling a bunch of stock, really you should be including this as well. Based on the date when this house was built, 94, I don't need a lead-based paint inspection or disclosure. I am including the 22K, right? It's already uploaded, so I don't need to select it. The title contingency, right? They've already provided the title contingency, so I don't really need this. Now, if they had like if we've already done a pre-inspection or we're waiving the inspection, you're going to want to use the form 35W. If you are doing an inspection, I'm going to include the inspection addendum. Couple of things that are important here, though, that there is a septic system, so I want to include the septic addendum. And there is a well, so I want to include the well addendum, which is, I think it's 22R, there we go. All right. So these are the main things that I do: the optional clause, the inspection addendum, the utility addendum. The title contingency is redundant because they provided the title report. So I'm going to go ahead and hit add, and then I'm just going to start filling these things out individually, right? Now, looking back at this, we see that there is a well, there is a septic system, the energy source is electric. So it's pellet, which means that they also have a pellet stove, and then there's propane, okay? So they're on propane. One of the things that you got to keep in mind with propane is do they own the tank, or is the tank leased? Okay, so that's something that you want to address. That's not the form I want. Any questions so far? All right, so this is the main purchase and sale agreement. This is like the meat and potatoes of your offer. As you can see right here, legal description attached as Exhibit A, right? So you have to have a legal description, otherwise this contract is voidable. Now in the listing, they're going to say what is included. So down here, site features, where is it? Right here: appliances, dishwasher, dryer, garbage disposal, microwave, range, oven, refrigerator, washer. So pretty much everything is going to be included with the sale: the stove, the refrigerator, the washer, the dryer, the dishwasher, the microwave. Some people click here and even put garbage disposal. I usually don't. I mean, it's attached. I don't think they're going to be taking the garbage disposal. Then you just insert the purchase price. Earnest money is typically 1 to 3%. There's actually no rule on how much the earnest money should be, but we'll put 10,000. Check, note, wire. I typically, because I don't know sometimes what my client's going to do, I usually go check / wire. Delivery date is going to be default to 2 days unless you specify other. So I'll put 3 just in case something happens, try to buy an extra day. So it's asking here, who's going to hold the earnest money? 9, there's only been one time where the brokerage preferred to hold the earnest money, but 9 times out of, or more than 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the closing agent. And in default, either forfeiture of earnest money or seller's election of remedies. We always choose forfeiture of earnest money. Does anybody know why we do that? Does anybody know why it's better for your clients?
So the seller doesn't have full reign to do whatever they want.
Correct. So if we choose forfeiture of earnest money, escrow then needs to have both parties agree what's going to happen with the earnest money, right? So if you choose seller's election or remedies, that power just goes away, right? So when I first started in real estate, I was like, man, that sounds pretty scary that we're automatically going to forfeit our earnest money rather than give the seller the right to hopefully give it back to us. But we choose forfeiture of earnest money because escrow does need to make sure that both parties are in agreement, are agreeing on what's going to happen. So the title and insurance company, typically the agent will provide up in the broker remarks who to use, right? So title and escrow with Chicago Title, right? If they don't, which sometimes they don't, what I'll do is I'll go through, and if they have like the commitment, you can see that the title commitment's through Chicago Title. So that's one way to kind of figure it out if they don't have it. But Chicago Title and escrow, they may specify an individual closer, which they do, Nikki Dennis. So you could put Nikki's name here for the individual closer. Closing date is going to be whatever your lender says they can close. If it's 30 days, if it's 45 days, again, you know, one of the reasons why you want to work with a quality lender so they can close quicker. Possession date is going to be on closing. If it's anything other than on closing, then our brokerage will require you, and it's further down in this contract, to provide a rental agreement, okay? So just keep that in mind. You might as well include the rental agreement now if you choose anything other than other, like 3 days post closing. Okay, then we will need a rental agreement. Whether or not they're gonna pay money or not is kind of up to you, what you negotiate. So services of closing agent, we're gonna request that the seller pay off all the utilities prior to our buyer taking over. Charges and assessments levied before but due after closing. So these are things like HOA liens. A common one is a sewer capacity charge, right? If the house was built brand new and the builder kind of deferred the sewer connection to the new buyer, then there will be a sewer capacity charge if it hasn't been paid off. So I always put prepaid in full by seller at closing when I'm representing a buyer. They may counter that. This one technically is not a counter offer if you leave it blank, but I always choose is not. They can always counter it. And then this section, who represents who, right? If you're doing off-market stuff, maybe you're only representing one of them, or maybe you're doing both. Maybe you're doing dual agency, or maybe none of them are represented if you're just filling out paperwork for people, right? So, but typically it's going to be buyer and seller. And then this is where you're going to include all your addendums, right? If you're getting financing, then you're going to include the 22A. I always include the optional clause. And this one's going to have the utility addendum, and there's going to be the well and septic, 22R, and then 22S. And then we're going to ask to do an inspection here. Okay. And then if there's anything additional that you want to specify on a Form 34, you're going to need to do 3 things. If you are going to start writing your own contracts or writing your own verbiage into these contracts, there's well, let's hold off on that. So this essentially is completed. You can see that it didn't upload my firm because I removed it, but had I selected the proper purchase and sale agreement rather than a listing input, then that would have auto-populated. So I'm going to hit save and exit. So from here, actually, I'm going to let's say that we've filled out all the forms that we need to fill out for time's sake. What I do is I go ahead and then send this for signature straight from here. And I go ahead and click sign. It's saying that you can add forms after the fact, which I am in agreement with. Okay. So you have to add a participant. I'm just going to add myself real quick. And it defaulted me to a reviewer, but I'm going to go ahead and put myself as the buyer. Just for the sake of this. Now, it only added the first form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add documents from this transaction, right? And I'm going to add that 22D, the well, the septic. I'm going to add my ABA disclosures. And then it'll also bring up any of the forms that they've already uploaded, like the legal description, seller disclosure, the FERPTA, the 22K. There's that title report. I'm not going to include that. I'm not going to include the as-built, but I'm going to send it to the client just to keep my offer a little bit cleaner. Okay. So then I'm going to hit add. Okay. And then what I like to do is I like to alphabetize these. So the seller disclosure and the ABA are not a part of the contract, right? So I like to stop all the things that are a part of the contract and are not actually a part of the contract. Believe it or not, the seller disclosure is not a part of the contract. So I stop at the legal description. So then I kind of organize these QRS 22E. Right, so I'll, looks like I missed the inspection and stuff, but that would have come down here, and then I hit design. And then this is where it's going to auto-populate things for the buyer to sign. Okay, on the contracts that you've created. Now it's not going to do it on all of them. Like here, I don't need to sign anything there. But these ones that they've uploaded, right? The well-ident, nope. Like this one, I'm going to need to add my own, drag over my own initial. Now, if you right-click this, you don't have to do like then click over and add the date. If you right click this, you can add a date stamp, and all they have to do is sign this, and then it'll tag it with the date stamp. I used to, before I knew this, I would drag their initial over and then I would drag over the date stamp. So if you just right click it, you can add a date stamp that way. And then here on the seller disclosure, there's 3 spots to sign. The first spot is just acknowledging that you've received it. The second one is saying that you're not going to revoke the offer based on it. And then the third one is saying that you're acknowledging that you've received an incomplete seller disclosure. Sometimes you can back out if there's a checkbox that's not checked. So that's one of the reasons why I really almost never have anybody sign this unless it's an estate sale where there is no Form 17. Then I'll have them sign this bottom one and cross everything out. So, all right, cool. That was long and boring, writing a contract. What questions do you guys have for me at this point? Did you learn anything?
Jason, do you always make your offer expire the next day, or is there anything like specific with that?
No, it's just, I feel like right now no, that's definitely not. It depends on, like, I'll read the descriptions. I'll see, like, I'll call the agent and I'll ask them how soon can they meet with their client. If it's a review date that's like today, I might even have it expire today. So it just depends on a lot of different situations, right? If their clients are out of town, things like that. But sometimes you want to put pressure on them, right? If you have a really strong offer and you're trying to put pressure on them and you're like, 20,000 above the list price and they have a review date and you're like, hey, my clients are looking at this other house. They really like this one better. They're going to give it their best shot and it expires tomorrow at noon. You have to physically write, by noon, because otherwise, if it's not specified, it's 9 p.m.
Right. Okay.
So
Okay. Well, thank you.
Every situation is different. Talk to the agent, see how quickly they could present it, all that stuff.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. What other questions? Cool. You got some input?
No, just who's that handsome devil in the frame above your shoulder there?
I don't know, man. It's my brother, I guess, from another mother.
He's handsome.
Anybody got any questions? What are you guys struggling with? You guys want to know how to get offers accepted, like best practices?
Yeah.
How to get some business.
How to get some business. Yeah, well, this is the last part of it, right? Focus on the business and then focus on the contracts. Contracts are important, go to the contract classes, but if you have no business, you're not writing contracts. So,
Hey, Jason, something I was going to mention was the classes that the title and escrow give about understanding their documents.
Yep.
Like 3-hour classes. They're pretty informative because they're only talking about title and escrow, and there's some very good information that comes out of those because there's a lot of technicalities when it comes to that. title and escrow stuff.
Sure. Yeah. Go to
But
your,
those classes that they give are pretty good.
I would say that you would probably learn the most just going through a title report, many title reports, clicking on those hyperlinks and understanding what they are.
Yeah.
I have a question. So, how useful is it to include like a 22 AD or like an escalation clause to an offer?
Yeah, I mean, it's super important, especially if you're in a competitive situation. I mean, we could have a class called like win the offer and include all those things. But yeah, 22D, for those who you don't know, is pre-negotiating how much your clients are willing to pay if it escalates and it doesn't appraise. So yeah, they're super valuable. But what I think what's even more important is for you as an agent to understand, like, if they had to make up that difference, right? Do they have the cash to make up that difference, but also still qualify for the loan, right? Because let's say, you know, your clients are putting 20% down and you're like, oh, my clients have plenty of money that if they had to, they could go with a 10% down loan, right? Well, you better make sure, and if you're doing these kind of offers, you need to be like this with the lender, because you need to make sure that if they did have to come out of pocket with 50 grand because it didn't appraise, can they still qualify with a 10% down payment? Because maybe that throws off their debt to income. Maybe they needed that, maybe they needed the primary mortgage insurance to be off the loan for them to qualify. So that's when agents really get into trouble with those things, is not being crystal clear communication with the lender. And just because they have the money doesn't mean that they can still qualify if they had to bring that to the table. Or telling their clients that, oh yeah, man, it'll appraise, don't worry about it, like I'm confident, and then it doesn't, and then now you're in a tough situation where your client's earnest money is at risk.
Right, that makes sense. So what if they didn't have a lot to offer in that form, but say it was like as little as like 2,000 or 5,000? Is it worth it at that point to even add that form in there?
I mean, if we're talking about a couple of $1,000s.
I mean, just so like maybe if the other agencies that there is that form included at all, like.
Yeah, anything that puts you, yes, to answer your question, anything that puts you one step ahead if somebody else doesn't, right? Because if all these other people are writing offers that escalate and yours is the only one with the 22 AD and the listing agent's not confident that it will appraise, then I would say you got a stronger offer because you're willing to put something, you're pre-negotiating something.
Okay. Thanks.
Guys, this opportunity, shoot anything. Cool.
Do you do anything special, Jason, when like sending your offer over to the agent?
Yeah, I mean, if I really have a solid offer that I think I have a shot, I'll definitely call the agent and try to build some rapport with them. You know, I think that's very important. Sometimes I know I don't have a shot and I just shoot it over, but you know, if I feel like I can have a shot at winning it, I definitely want to build rapport with the agent pretty much as soon as possible. And that's why it's important to have, you know, good relationship skills and build relationships with other agents. Because, you know, if you know that agent, they might just, you know, if you're friends with them, you've done deals with them before, they may just flat out tell you what it's going to take to win the offer, you know?
Right. Okay, cool.
Cool. Well, that's about it for time, guys. So moving forward, give me one sec here. Moving forward, what I want you guys to do is, if you haven't already and you're in the state of Washington, I want you to go ahead and subscribe to the Washington Realtors YouTube channel. There's a lot of valuable information. And also, you guys should attend the Washington Broker Contracts classes Wednesday at 10 o'clock. It should actually be in your calendar. Actually, that one's not in your calendar, but our team meeting right before that is. So attend those team meetings if you'd like, but the contracts class at 10, I think is super valuable. So with that, if you got no other questions, guys, I hope you enjoyed week 6, which is the final week before we reset. So, you know, I'd love to hear your feedback. If there was something that you wanted to get covered, we can go over next time. But if that's all, then I appreciate you guys showing up and enjoy your week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
All right, guys.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.